On the evening of July 30th, 1995, the air in the suburbs of Hachioji, Tokyo, was heavy with stifling humidity. It was one of those summer nights where the heat clung to the air long after sunset, refusing to let go. At the Nampe supermarket, the day was coming to an end, and the employees were finishing their final tasks before closing. Outside, the lively sounds of a nearby summer festival filled the air, gently breaking the stillness of the night. At around 9:15 p.m., in the office on the second floor, 3 women were preparing to leave: 47-year-old Noriko Inagaki, 17-year-old Megumi Yabuki, and 16-year-old Hiromi Maeda. Inagaki had plans to meet a friend for dinner at a nearby restaurant, while the 2 high school girls were excited to visit the summer festival. As they were about to leave the office, an intruder suddenly emerged from the darkness and forced them back inside. Without a moment to react, Inagaki was violently beaten and knocked to the floor, a cold gun barrel pressed against her head. In that instant, 2 gunshots shattered the stillness of the night, extinguishing her life in a flash. The 2 high school girls could do nothing but tremble in fear as the horror unfolded before their eyes. The killer's merciless gaze then shifted to them. Helpless, they were forced face down onto the floor. Moments later, 2 gunshots pierced the air, and the bullets that followed mercilessly took their lives. These horrific acts unfolded in a matter of minutes. The killer left with nothing, taking only the lives of the 3 women before slipping into the shadows of the night. Nampe was a modest supermarket tucked away in a quiet residential area, frequented mostly by locals. On the day of the incident, the store saw an unusual rush due to the final day of a special sales promotion, drawing in a larger-than-normal crowd. Inagaki and Yabuki began their shift at 5 p.m., ready for the evening's routine. By then, one of the 3 cash registers had already been closed for the night. Inagaki manned register number 3, while Yabuki took her position at register number 2, unaware of the looming tragedy that would soon unfold. At approximately 5:30 p.m., a man in his 50s, wearing a white shirt and gray pants, was seen lingering outside the store, his eyes fixed on the activities inside. Despite his suspicious behavior, neither the staff nor the customers took any action. By 6:30 p.m., a local Bonodori festival had begun at a nearby park, just 30 meters away from the supermarket. Shortly before 7 p.m., Maeda arrived at the store on her bicycle. She had originally come to check her upcoming work schedule, but decided to wait and meet Yabuki after her shift, a decision that would seal her tragic fate. By 8 p.m., with just an hour remaining until closing, the store had quieted down significantly. Inagaki finished up at register number 3 and took the cash upstairs to the office, where she deposited the money into the safe. Downstairs, Yabuki continued manning register number 2, with Maeda standing close by. Some customers overheard them casually chatting, making plans to head to the nearby Bonodori festival after their shifts. At around 8:30 p.m., a customer noticed a man in his 40s or 50s wandering around the store, watching the activity but not purchasing anything. Despite his unusual behavior, no one thought much of it, and nothing seemed out of place. Around the same time, another witness reported seeing a white sedan slowly driving past the store. The male driver briefly glanced inside before continuing on, but no one raised any concern about these subtle yet unsettling signs. Receipt records confirm that Maeda purchased milk and eggs at 8:51 p.m. Around this time, Inagaki was closing up by shutting the cooling curtains in the meat section while casually chatting with a nearby customer. That same customer also recalled speaking with Yabuki and Maeda, marking the last known moment all 3 women were seen alive before the tragedy unfolded. Just minutes before closing, a young couple purchased groceries and left in a white sedan. They are believed to be the store's last customers that night. Investigators suspect they may have witnessed something crucial, yet their identities remain a mystery to this day. Outside, the Bonodori festival was reaching its peak, with the sound of drums echoing through the night. At 9:06 p.m., while Inagaki was turning off the store's lights, a local resident parking his car noticed something unsettling: a young man standing in the passageway beneath the store's office. When the car's headlights shone on the man, he lowered his head and quickly walked away. At 9:15 p.m., Inagaki called an acquaintance, asking for a ride home. Phone records confirmed the timing of the call. Meanwhile, the office's security system activated, a clear indication that the women were wrapping up and preparing to leave. At 9:16 p.m., the security system indicated that the entrance was unlocked again. Investigators believe this may have been the moment the attacker appeared, forcing the women back inside at gunpoint. In the meantime, Inagaki's acquaintance pulled up to the supermarket. Seeing the office lights on, he assumed she was still inside and decided to wait in the parking lot. Just a few moments later, a man, around 25 years old with a baseball cap, was seen driving through the nearby intersection at a steady pace, showing no sign of stopping. By 9:45, when Inagaki still hadn't shown up, her acquaintance assumed she might have already gone to the restaurant, so he made his way there. But when he arrived, he found no sign of her. Concerned, he decided to return to the supermarket to check the office, but knowing that it also served as a changing room, he asked the restaurant's female owner to accompany him. Together, they headed back to the supermarket. After arriving at the office, the restaurant owner found the front door unlocked and stepped inside. Standing near the entrance, she called out, but there was no response. It seemed as though no one was inside, so she returned to the car. Because she was only 150 centimeters or about 4'11" tall, the counter near the entrance blocked her view of the back of the room. They decided to go back in together for another look. It was then that they discovered the bodies of the 3 female employees, all shot in the head and lying on the floor. They rushed to the nearby Kita Hachioji police box, where the officer on duty made an emergency call, recorded at 10:08 p.m. It was concluded that one person was responsible for the murders, based on the fact that only one set of footprints was found, and the number of footprints matched a single individual's movement. In addition to the footprints, investigators found fine iron particles, clay, and moss in the shoe impressions. The iron particles are believed to have originated from welding, a process that commonly produces such debris. This finding points to the possibility that the killer may have had experience with welding or frequently visited industrial settings, like metal workshops or factories. The weapon believed to have been used in the crime was a Filipino-made Squire's Bingham .38 caliber revolver, which is a replica of the American Colt revolver. The killer's actions were extremely simple and direct. Inside the office, the killer walked almost in a straight line from the entrance to the safe, which was positioned at the back, moved briefly around it, and then left the office. A large pool of blood had spread across the floor around the victims, but the killer carefully avoided stepping in it, ensuring that no blood got on the shoes. Inagaki had been shot twice in the head, and burn marks on her skin from the heat of the gun barrel confirmed that the shots were fired at point-blank range. Yabuki and Maeda were found lying face to face. Their mouths and arms had been tightly bound with adhesive tape. Both were shot once in the head, resulting in instant death. A partial fingerprint and traces of sweat were discovered on the tape, providing a key lead in the investigation. Additionally, a single bullet mark was found on the safe, but there were no signs of tampering, and the approximately 5 million yen inside was left untouched. Prior to the incident, the supermarket's office had been repeatedly targeted by burglars. It was common for the office door to be left unlocked during business hours, and this was often the case at night as well. The supermarket was known locally for its lax security, and this reputation may have contributed to the crime. On that particular evening, as was often the case during late shifts, the store was staffed solely by women. Inagaki, who had previously voiced her concerns about the store's lax security, had even briefly quit over the issue, her fears now tragically becoming a reality. The safe was secured with both a key and a passcode, meaning the killer would have had to take the key from Inagaki and force her to reveal the passcode. Although the key was found in the lock, suggesting an attempt to open the safe, the killer suddenly stopped, abandoned the plan, and shot all 3 victims in quick succession. Some argue that this abrupt change in behavior indicates the killer may have panicked, or that something went wrong, leading to a rushed escape. Furthermore, if the killer's primary goal was to steal the money from the safe, Would they really have risked killing the one employee who likely knew the passcode so easily? Some investigators believe the crime was fueled by personal hatred. Before her death, Inagaki received a threatening letter, which contained a utility knife blade and a chilling message. "You won't survive if this continues." While the police verified the threat, the sender remains unidentified, suggesting that someone may have had a motive to target Inagaki specifically. Inagaki's aggressive behavior adds weight to this theory. Witnesses reported seeing her publicly berate men, often using harsh language, and this behavior wasn't limited to just one person. She also had a dispute with a man who had supported her financially, which escalated when he could no longer help her. In fact, those who knew Inagaki said their first thought upon hearing about the crime was that it was committed by someone who personally resented her, not a random robber. In 2002, Hiroshi Nakamura, a man in his 70s, was arrested in Aichi for attempting to rob a bank, which led to suspicions of his involvement in the Hachioji murders. Investigators noted that the bullet markings from a 1997 robbery at the Osaka Kosei Shinkin Bank closely resembled those found at the Hachioji crime scene, sparking theories of a connection between the two. Further fueling the suspicion was the fact that the man was living near Hachioji at the time of the murders. However, despite the circumstantial evidence, no concrete proof linking him to the crime has been found, and he has never been formally charged in connection with it. The man had a long history of violent crimes, including armed bank robberies and attacks on cash transport vehicles. At the age of 26, he attempted a bank robbery during which he shot and killed a police officer who had approached him, resulting in an indefinite imprisonment with parole. He was also suspected of involvement in the attempted assassination of the Commissioner General of the National Police Agency, which occurred 4 months before the Hachioji murders. In 2004, he published a magazine article admitting responsibility for the Commissioner General's shooting, but firmly denying any connection to the Hachioji supermarket murders. In the summer of 2009, it was reported that Teruo Takeda, a 67-year-old Japanese man who had been arrested in China for possession of methamphetamines and sentenced to death, told Chinese authorities that he had information about the Hachioji murders. In September of that same year, Japanese investigators interviewed Takeda, a key figure in the notorious Japan-China mixed robbery gang. Takeda had been involved in a series of high-profile robberies targeting wealthy individuals across Japan, resulting in an estimated loss of around 600 million yen, approximately $5.4 million. During the questioning, he mentioned that a Chinese individual might have information about the perpetrator of the Hachioji murders. However, Takeda was executed in China in April 2010, preventing any further testimony from being obtained. In February 2015, numerous media outlets reported that the fingerprints of a Japanese man who had died approximately 10 years earlier nearly matched those believed to belong to the perpetrator of the Hachioji supermarket murders. The prints were compared with over 10 million entries in the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department's database, revealing 8 matching points. Statistically, such a match occurs in only 1 in 100 million cases, making this discovery highly significant. However, under police and judicial standards, 12 matching points are required to definitively confirm the identity of an individual, so the man could not be conclusively identified as the perpetrator. Unlike the other suspects identified during the investigation, there is one individual whose whereabouts remain completely unknown, a woman who had been seen entering and leaving the office on the day of the crime. A cigarette butt with lipstick stains was found in the office's ashtray. DNA from the woman, who wasn't identified as any of the employees or known people there that day, was also discovered. While the nature of the crime has led investigators to assume that a man was responsible, this new revelation suggests that the truth behind the case may be far more surprising and unexpected. Nearly 30 years have passed since that fateful summer night, yet the shadows of the Hachioji murders still loom over the city. The killer's identity remains elusive, and the true motive behind the brutal crime continues to haunt investigators and the public alike. What could drive someone to commit such a heinous and cold-blooded act, with a motive that still eludes all understanding? The crime, with its eerie precision and cruelty, suggests a mind capable of unimaginable darkness. Even in a country as safe as Japan, this horrific incident serves as a stark reminder that evil can lurk where least expected. What truly transpired that summer night may never be known, as the case remains shrouded in mystery to this day.